Hello, this screencast will walk you through how to analyze and interpret the data for SWA-F. So let's see. On SWA-F, you are being asked to pick any two independent variables and any one dependent variable and analyze it and then create a graph using the output. So let's go ahead and think about, given the data that we have, what kind of question we want to answer. So I know in my last screencast I was talking about like social media use and parenting styles on stress. Let's just pick a different one in here just to kind of mix it up. Let's say I am interested in the effects of social media use, and let's say gender on GPA. I am thinking that maybe males and females are differently affected by their use of social media and their ability to concentrate in school. So I'm going to go ahead and analyze using the general linear model. I need to run a univariate analysis to get my factorial ANOVA. You will notice from my other screencast that I had just run using some different variables. Here again, my variable of interest, my dependent variable is GPA. So I'm going to move that over into the dependent variable place. I'm interested in how often people are using social media, but I'm also interested in gender because I want to see if there's a gender difference there. Okay, you will remember that I had you selecting post hocs, or on your version it might be called EM means. And so I'm just going to scooch those over. Also look under options and make sure, oh yeah, this is the part that's probably under EM means on yours. Move everything over and compare main effects. Make sure you have your descriptives, effect size, power, and homogeneity test selected. All right, then click OK, and here we have some output. Notice I get an error message right away. Post hoc tests were not performed on gender. Why? Because I only had two groups. If there's a difference between two groups, you don't need a post hoc. The two groups are different. So post hoc tests allow you to see differences if there's three or more groups or levels. Anyway, so we did have to run post hocs on social media use because we had three levels, low, medium, and high, and we had our two levels of gender. This is just showing me the ends that showed up in each group. Now I have, ooh, interesting. I have an empty cell here. That'll be interesting when we go to make the graph, but it's okay because your data might just turn out like this. What these descriptives are reporting are what is the mean GPA, right? Our dependent measure was GPA for females who use social media 0 to 1 hours per day. They had a mean 3.36 standard deviation, etc., etc. I had no males in that group though. The rest of them will break down by male and female. So moderate female users had a GPA of 2.9. Moderate male users had a GPA of 2.65. See where I'm going with this? High female users had a GPA 3.1. High male users had a GPA of 3.9. And so forth. And so we are going to use this data in a minute to create a graph, and I'll show you how in a sec. But before we do that, I want to make sure that everybody understands how to interpret these F tables, right? These summary tables. So you, in a factorial ANOVA, you have two independent variables in your two-way design. That means you have to report the effects of three F tests. You're looking at what's called a main effect of social media use alone on what? On GPA, right? Dependent variables GPA. So what's the effect of social media use by itself on GPA? That gets reported here in this F. It looks like I do have a significant effect. When I looked at those descriptive statistics, though, it's not in the effect that you might, or it's not in the direction you might expect. It looks like here GPA is actually higher possibly for people who use more, at least if they're male. But it also might be driving the effect too. So we have to look at the post hoc tests to determine that. But anyway, I do know that I have a significant effect of social media use. Does it mean that people who use social media more have a lower GPA? Not at all. That's not what I'm seeing here in my data at all. But I'll have to look at the post hocs to see where the significant groups are. But anyway, I have a significant effect of social media use on GPA. Great. Now I look at the effect size. This is a moderate effect size. We saw this, or you might remember when we ran the power analysis, 0.25 was defined as the medium effect size or moderate effect size. And you'll see I didn't really have a lot of power here to detect the effect. My power is very low, 0.61. But it is what it is. I did find a significant effect of social media use. It's 0.04. We set our significance level at 0.05. So this is, it's either significant or not significant, but the effect size is telling me that this is only a moderate effect. The other two, the effect of gender on GPA and the interaction, are not significant. What this means is there was no difference between GPA. No difference is in GPA between males and females, and that's what we would expect. Let's see, for the social media use and gender, we have no interaction. That means it didn't matter, even though I suspected that maybe females and males were impacted differently by social media use. The data shows that's not at all what happened. So when you go to report your results, you report 3 F tests. The F test on social media use with its degrees of freedom, 2 and 21. The F test on gender and its degrees of freedom, 1 and 21. And then the interaction with its degrees of freedom, 1 and 21. And then you just go across here. Here's your F value, and this is your significance. Your P equal is what the significance is. And then report your partial eta squared. And you do not need to report the power. But the sample, once you look at the sample, you should see what I'm talking about and where you're getting those numbers. Now, what about this, these post hocs, and where am I going to find out where the significant differences are? To get the pairwise comparisons or the post hocs, scroll down. I ran these a couple of different ways. So we did look at just the flat out pairwise comparisons between each group, right? So this is social media all by itself. Was there a difference in GPA for people who used 0 to 1 versus 2 to 4, etc., etc.? Looking at the significance levels, there really wasn't, although 2 to 4 and more than 4 was almost significant. So that's where that, we saw that male in the over 4 who had a 3.9 GPA. I think that's what's driving this, but it's not significant. So that's kind of interesting. The other post hoc tests that we wanted to do were on the individual groups themselves. So, where are those? Let's see. Nope, I think that was it. Right, because we couldn't do male-female because there's only 2 of them. So the answer to my question is I have an overall significant effect, main effect of social media use, but I didn't really see any significant differences between the groups with the post hoc tests other than the more than 4 hours per day approached significantly different from 2.4 hours a day. All right, hopefully that helps to clarify how to interpret the data. Now I know what everybody probably wants to know is how would I graph this data? So you need to create a matrix that's already created here in this table called descriptive statistics. So if we think about this matrix, you could map it out differently, I suppose. But basically what I need to do is get this information into an Excel file, and then I can make my graph. How am I going to do that? Well, I go to Excel and I open up a new spreadsheet. I want to start here in A2, and I want to put male, female as my two groups. Actually, I want to double check that. Females are actually on top in my thing. So let me do, just so I can keep the numbers straight, let me put female on top and then male. And then I'm going to have 3 groups of social media use, right? Low, medium, and high. So when you think about that, I need to put 6 numbers here. What's 6 numbers? Well, I need to get the mean for females who were low, and so that's going to be 3.36, if you can see that. And then I just go ahead and type that right here. 3.36. Now I need males who were low. Well, you'll remember I didn't have anybody in that cell. So that's actually going to be left blank. I move over to the next part. What do I put? Females medium, 2.93. So I go back here, female medium, 2.93. And notice I don't even put a 0 here. I just leave it blank because I don't want it to look like they actually had a mean of 0. So literally just leave it blank, by the way, for this male low. Now I need the male medium. So I go back to my Excel. My SPSS output, male medium, 2.68. Go back to Excel, 2.68. And now I need my high groups. And notice I'm focusing here just on the mean. High females are 3.18 and high males are 3.9. I'm going to put that in Excel. 3.18, 3.19. Notice this is only the mean. It's not the standard deviation or standard error. I'm just going to Control-C copy this and paste it over here and change these numbers with the standard deviations, because they're right here, right? So my female's 0.626. Make sure I don't run out of time on my video here. Male low, I had nobody in that group, so I can leave that blank. Let's see, I have 0.76 and 0.02 output. So 0.76 and then 0.02. And then in my high group, it doesn't sound very good, but my high use group, I have a 0.52 and then 0. And that is a true 0. Notice how it was reported as 0. There was no variability in that group. So a true 0 is different than a blank. Okay, so how do I make the graph now? Go back over to the means, because that's what you want to report. Click Insert, scooch over here, over by Recommended Charts. Actually move over here to the first one, choose the 2D column, and then just plop it in here. My chart title is The Effects of Social Media Use and Gender on GPA. And I need to add an axis title here. I'm going to hit a plus and put an axis title. And then I'm just going to type in here GPA to change this axis title. Make sure that it is a 0 to 4 point scale. Excel likes to add more, but you don't need that. Put an axis title down here. This is social media use. And then male, female can stay there. I always like to move it up so I don't overlook it. And then you can just play with the aesthetics here on your graph. Grab and drag things around and so forth, whatever you want to do. Make it a little wider so the title's all on one page. You get it. How do I put those error bars in? I'll do that real quick for you. Highlight the first set of bars, click this plus sign and go to error bars and click it and go to more options and then do custom. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see the custom option. My screen is cutting off here. Click specify value. And now highlight for I do both and just highlight the top row for that. There's my error bars on the blue ones. I can do it again for the red ones. Click this, do error bars, more options, scroll down, custom, specify value, and the second row down here. All right, if you have any questions, please email. Thanks.